going to conduct an interview with Casey McCullough. It is September the 18th, 2020, approximately 10 a.m. We're in Melbourne, Arkansas. Afternoon.
Good afternoon already?
Well, yeah, it's getting close.
Well, good morning.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you taking the time. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious about Jeremy Miller, your cousin.
Okay.
So, back in the day, it's my understanding through the information in the case file that he lived about 3 miles down the road from you. Do you remember exactly where him and Linda were living whenever they came up here and he was going to school for that month and a half?
I can't say I remember where they were living. I remember where my grandparents were living, and I thought they were staying with them. Like, that's what comes up. Like, I figured they were staying with Grandma and Grandpa. And of course, he lives down Knob Creek Road. And he also used to live about 3 miles down Guyan Highway in an old house. Now, that was before all this happened, I believe.
Do you know where that house is?
Huh?
Can you take me to it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just... there's some things in the case file, and Casey, I think that for me to be successful in this, and I know family's family, and I know I don't like keeping secrets from my wife. It's easier to keep secrets from my brothers and all that kind of stuff. But the things that we talk about, I'm just going to ask you. I hope that you just keep them to yourself. I think that's going to give me a better shot at trying to figure out.
I'm not really close with them, so it's not like I talk to them all the time.
Right. Well, it was interesting in the case file that, and when I tell you these things, it may, spark a memory or whatever. But so, whenever you got off work on Sunday, from what I gather, you went home, then your dad called you and said that he needed to borrow your truck. And then you and Rebekah followed you to your grandparents' house where your dad was, and that you gave your dad your keys there at the grandparents' house. That was your statement back then, and that was Claude's statement back then too. That's what he remembers. Had you had a lot of interaction or communication with Little Bill, during that period of time or prior or whatever?
No.
Well, it's interesting because he showed up to Arkansas Sunday afternoon, Sunday early evening. Okay? Well, after you gave your dad your truck, you and Rebekah got into her car and then went to Mountain View and rented movies and bought a little marijuana from JB and then headed back home.
Right.
Okay? Whenever you got back home, you said that you and Rebekah watched a movie all the way through.
Yeah.
And then after that, you guys got up and was making yourself something to eat and started talking. And then Rebekah noticed somebody out on the dirt road, which by the statements that we have, it makes sense to me that she observed the individual out on the dirt road through a window. Okay, she was inside the trailer when she saw somebody out on the dirt road. And then you said in your interview that you looked out the window and you said, "Oh, that's my cousin, that's little Bill." Well, for you to be able to recognize Billy, your cousin, who lives in Texas, somebody you don't see, that you don't have communication with, for you to be able to recognize little Bill out on the dirt road from inside the trailer, my theory is that he had come up, and by his statements, he said one of the first things he did when he got to Arkansas was that he visited family. Well, the first thing that I think of is, well, the family he has is his grandparents, right?
I think you're getting two people mixed up. There's little Billy and then there's Jeremy. Jeremy was the one.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Jeremy was 15 going to school here.
Okay.
His older brother, little Bill.
Okay.
William, his birth name is William Alma Miller. He goes by Little Bill.
Little Bill.
Okay. He came up to help Linda and Jeremy move back to Texas.
Okay, now I'm starting to, yeah.
Okay. Ring a bell?
Yeah.
Okay. So in his statement, he said that the first thing he did when he got up here to Melbourne, to Izard County, was that he visited family and spent time with his mom. So my thinking is that he was at the grandparents' house visiting, like he said he was, whenever you showed up to give Claude your truck. Okay? How else, it doesn't make sense to me, how else would you know that was little Bill out on the dirt road just by looking out the window, unless you had seen him just hours before?
Well, this is so long ago.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just try to. That what I'm saying, I think makes sense. I don't know how, because by your statement, you said Rebekah looked out the window and saw somebody on the road, and then you looked out the window and noticed that it was little Bill. How would you have known that was little Bill unless you had seen little Bill earlier? And little Bill says he was visiting family, so it makes sense to me that he was probably at the grandparents' house whenever you dropped your truck off.
Right.
That makes sense.
I feel like, I mean, it was so long ago, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I recognized him. I knew it was him. I mean, but
yeah,
like as far as what he was driving then, I can't tell you or anything like that, but I knew what he looked like and
right
and all that, and all he has to do is drive by with his window down.
Well,
because
I want to say it. Well,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, you're telling me all this stuff, and it's hard to remember.
Yeah,
you're telling me stuff that
I know.
That I'm like, is he telling me the truth? Is he actually telling me?
Yeah,
I said this, or
I'm not.
Because it's hard.
I'm not trying to get you hemmed up and put words in your mouth. I'm just
I
going.
Know you got a job to do.
Well, I know, but do you know much about little Bill and who he is as a person and the things that he's done in his life?
I know he works like overseas or out on an oil rig somewhere, and like a very long time ago, he decided to move completely over there, like move overseas. That's about all I know about him. Now he has messaged me about this a few times to see if I was okay or what's going on. You know, he's related, so you know, something happens, everybody starts messaging, you know, the podcast.
Right.
That's when he started messaging me about it. But now I have no idea about Billy. I can't say he's a good person or a bad person. From what I got out of him, you know, he's my family. I would think he's a good person.
Y'all are cousins, right?
But we didn't spend like
enough
time together.
Right.
Yeah, cousins.
So back during this period of time, so Linda and Jeremy moved up here the 1st of August. And by September the 23rd, they had loaded up and headed back to Texas. Okay, Rebekah was killed on a Monday, and on Wednesday, they were gone. Okay. Based on the information I have, it appears that Jeremy was into marijuana back then, was kind of, his schooling he was just a mess as a young man.
Little thug.
How many times, if any, do you remember him coming over to the trailer to visit, to say hi, to maybe smoke a joint, to anything?
Maybe three or four times. It wasn't like all the time, but he would show up and say, "Hey, I just wanted to visit. Hadn't seen you in a while, and stuff like that." But
and he would show up how, on his bike, or
he showed up on his bike. It was either, that might have been Billy. See, I get them two confused after so long because they even look the same at certain ages.
Right.
So,
well, we know Billy lived in Texas and was married at the time.
Okay.
He wasn't up here with Linda and Jeremy. The only time he came up here was to help them move back.
I feel like Jeremy came by once too, like on a bike. But I know Billy did it one time. He came over years ago, played catch with us on his bicycle. I'm trying not to get it confused with him.
Yeah.
But I do feel like he came over a few times without transportation. In other words, like a bike.
Jeremy did.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Like maybe once or twice, because he didn't have no way of anyone else getting there, so he rode like a bike or something.
Right. And that is consistent with his statement whenever he was interviewed back then, that he remembered. So you remember him actually being in your trailer on occasions?
On occasions.
Okay. All right. Did the house you're thinking about where they lived, was it right off the highway or was it up the county road?
Oh, it's right off the highway. I mean, I think it's on West Road towards Mount Pleasant from Guyan. There's a little cutoff called West Road, and you can go out to Mount Pleasant. And in between there, or actually right when you turn there, right up the road to the left, there's a church, a house on one side of the church and a house on the other side of the church. And the house that you get to first on the left before the church is where my grandparents used to live.
Okay. And that's where you remember, you think that's where Linda and Jeremy were staying?
Yeah, I can't say I know if they were staying somewhere else. Because usually when Billy or Jeremy came to town, that's where they went to stay with the grandparents.
Okay.
And I think their mom too, so I wouldn't think that if they had a place to stay, why would they get somewhere else to stay?
Well, and there's in Jeremy's statement, he said that they lived about 3 miles down the road from where you lived. So I'm trying to figure out where that is out there. That I would really like to know specifically, where did they live? I want to be able to see it. You know what I mean? Just so I have it.
For some reason, I can't tell you if they were living there. I mean, if Jeremy said that, then to me it seems like they were living out 3 miles away.
Yeah.
My grandparents. But I feel like they wasn't. But I could be wrong.
Okay, but you know where that 3 miles away residence is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Would you happen to have any of those text messages from Billy on your phone?
I'd have to go look. Or it's in the truck. I left it in the truck, but I can go look.
Okay.
I want to help you out.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
I understand, and I'm going to show you that.
Well, what we talked about before is whoever did this knew that you were at work without a vehicle, and they knew Claude was out of state on a run. They knew Rebekah was there. Those are the three things that this person knew. Who is that? Okay, that's not very many people. And I'm just going through theories, and I'm processing the information that I have. Billy is one of those people. Jeremy is one of those people. Without a doubt in my mind. So I just have to. I need to process anybody that. And another thing, there wasn't forced entry to the trailer. You said on multiple times that when Rebekah told you, the last thing she told you was that she was going back to the trailer to go to bed, and that she was going to sleep all day until she had to come pick you up. And you also said that any time Rebekah was there by herself, especially if she was sleeping, she'd deadbolt that front door, because you, on multiple occasions, showed up and had to knock to get her to come unlock that deadbolt. That's a statement you made just in one of your first or second interviews. You made that known. Well, without there being forced entry into the home, who has access to that? Who has that key to that deadbolt? You made it known in your interviews that there are only two people that had access to that key: Claude and your grandpa. Okay. Well, again, it is a possibility that Jeremy or Billy took that key from your grandpa unbeknownst to your grandpa, without your grandpa's knowledge. Jeremy and Billy were both into marijuana back then, into drugs. Both of them were a mess, were heathens back then.
So why is Danielle saying that she was supposed to go pick her up before noon then and leave towards...
That's what Danielle is saying now. That's not what Danielle said in 2004. Danielle doesn't remember. Danielle, she has some medical issues. I don't know if you know that or not.
Well, it's messing with me, so...
Yeah. Well, Danielle's statement in 2004 is what we're going off of, because that's the most reliable statement. And her statement in 2004 is not the statement that she's saying now. She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember.
It is tough to remember, because...
It is.
Because I honestly thought she was supposed to get up and go get her sister. But it being so long ago, I said that she was supposed to come pick me back up. Which is really weird.
Yeah. So, I just, that's one of the reasons I come up here today, is I want to put eyes on that property where they lived. And if you want to drive your truck out that way and then get in with me somewhere, or I can follow you, however you want to do it, it don't matter to me.
Yeah, you can follow me wherever. Is there nothing else I can help you with?
I don't know, is there?
I feel like there is, but I know you don't want to tell me anything.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I was the one that was hanging out with her, real close to her. So if somebody's saying something that I know is false, then they're lying. Other suspects. I know you got to be careful, but JB, Chris Cantrell, Jennifer Turner. I'm still on a different page than you.
I know you are. But what I had...
The most motive was Jennifer.
I hear you.
Unless you want to watch the podcast, then it's me.
Well, see, I'm not getting bogged down in all the he said, she said. I'm looking at what people were doing during this period of time and who knew what. And whoever did this knew that you were at work without a vehicle, and they, most importantly, this is very precise information. Claude is out of state on a run. Who would have known that? Who would have known that they didn't have to worry about the homeowner, Claude McCullough, coming home? Okay? Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
I mean, I get that. Things happen before people show up all the time. People do stuff not knowing if someone's going to show up or not.
Yeah, but to stay at the residence to clean up and do laundry. People can show up somewhere and commit a crime and leave, but people don't show up, commit a crime, and hang around the crime scene unless they know the homeowner is out of state on a run and you are at work without a vehicle.
I still think there's a chance.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There is. But it's...
Right, you're following the biggest chunks.
Right. So, let's go out here and see if you can't show me where you think the Millers lived back in 2004 for that month and a half. And, I'll probably I'll get out of your hair. And that was really my main focus today, was trying to understand when Jeremy is saying that he... See, another thing, Casey.
Hit me with it.
So, Linda and Jeremy were at your house on Sunday weed eating.
Oh yeah, supposedly weed eating.
They were. Okay. That's what their statements indicate, and the neighbors. Whenever they were interviewed, they remember seeing a woman and a young man weed eating on Sunday. So we know that they were there on Sunday. Jeremy told investigators that he rode his bike over to your place days before he moved back to Texas and visited with you and Rebekah. And he says that was the last time he was there. Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, if we know he was there Sunday weed eating with his mom, well, that wasn't the last time he was there. When he says the last time I was there, I rode my bike over there, and it was days before I moved back to Texas. Well, that statement, he is putting himself at the crime scene on the day she was killed. That doesn't make sense.
I agree. Something's a little weird there.
Well, and also,
say it or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's some information here that definitely needs to be looked at further, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, and part of it is understanding exactly where this residence was. Where were they staying in relation to your trailer? Because that suitcase and that piano leg is somewhere. It just didn't disappear. It is somewhere, whether it's in a landfill somewhere, or it's over here in a holler somewhere, or it's in a pond somewhere. That shit's somewhere.
I figured they'd have burnt the thing. It's made out of wood.
Yeah. If you have time but if they didn't have a lot of time.
Right.
It was a hurried deal. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm just trying to run this out. So do you want to drive all the way there, or do you want to get in with me halfway, or what? How do you want to do it?
Well, I can drive to my house. I guess, and you pick me up.
Okay.
Because it's just
we'll
pass it up.
Good deal.
All right, I'll meet you at my house.
Okay. Interviews concluded at 10:24 a.m.